Gracias for pressing play y welcome to Smart Chickens, a B2B SaaS Demand Gen meets innovation and growth podcast. In today's episode, we have a very special guest, Lisa Sharapata, who is currently the VP of Marketing Brand and Demand at MindTicle.com, a comprehensive data-driven SaaS solution for sales readiness and enablement that fuels revenue growth and brand affinity. Its purpose-built applications, proven methodologies, and best practices are designed to drive effective sales onboarding and ongoing readiness. With over 20 years of experience, Lisa's passionate about creating strategies, driving optimized pipeline, and executing comprehensive customer-centric initiatives. Her eye for detail and passion for effective marketing has driven her career-long commitment to building brands, teams, programs that drive revenue and deliver results at scale. Recognized by DMN as a woman to watch in 2019, Lisa is leading the charge for a better B2B buying experience. Prior to joining MindTicle, Lisa was a VP of Brand and Content Strategy at 6 Sense and the Senior Director of Brand Experience at Aprimo. We discuss her demand gen and marketing career journey and deep dive into her team's thought process and strategies around an ABM, demand generation, and brand affinity approach to MindTicle's new GTM strategy. As always, this podcast is brought to you by our good friends at digitechie.com, a conversational marketing demand gen and revenue accelerator consulgency, helping B2B clients scale sales pipelines to drive new revenue consistently. And gypsyforever.com, uniquely handmade wellness products that help you connect your mind, body, and soul to achieve a better balanced you. So vamos, without further ado, here's Lisa Sharapata.
Thanks for having me. Let's see where to start. So MindTicle, well, you mentioned earlier, yes, we got $100 million in funding back in November.
Yeah, congrats.
Thank you. Yeah. With that comes a lot of pressure, but also, it's exciting. So when I was interviewing for MindTicle last summer, lots of conversations around this was coming and what does that mean for the company? And they were looking for someone who would, kind of be able to take things to the next level. What that meant for me, and once I got in here, especially kind of saw under the hood, was that, we really needed to kind of rip everything out and start over almost. So, we were running a really traditional marketing model, kind of boil the ocean, spray and pray, whatever analogy you want to think of to describe it, that's what was going on. So, when I came in, the first thing was, besides kind of doing an audit and figuring out where everything was, is really looking under the hood and seeing, we need to connect all of our data points in the back end and be able to surface all of that information so that we can even get a clear picture of what our conversion rates are and where maybe things are falling down and what we need to improve. And then we knew we wanted to pivot to an account-based marketing experience. And so standing all that up. And so I've spent the last 6 months or so standing all that up.
Right. Yeah, well, that's, if you could unpack that a little bit, because that is a lot of work, even for the most seasoned marketer / sales manager or someone who's got a lot of operational experience, right? To come in to the fold and do the analysis, which I know that you're a big, a proponent of working backwards, right? Because I've heard you talk about reverse engineering, and to get to the revenue numbers quarter by quarter and year over year, what have you, you've got to go backwards and see, to your point, all the data points and what numbers of marketing qualified leads, or in this case, you're talking about account-based marketing, to even narrow down that funnel and kind of work almost like from the reverse, the bottom of the funnel, and think about how you're going to get those numbers and help your team, your sales team, right? So what are some of those tactics that you've seen that are playing out or that you're working on right now with your team around that?
Yeah. So, like you said, I want to unpack it and go all the way back. Yeah, reverse engineering. In order to reverse engineer it, though, you've got to be able to see each conversion point. So ultimately at the end, I know I want to be able to get to as strong of a conversion rate as possible, because I mean, not only is the efficiency in that appealing, but like you only have so many resources and there's only so big of a total addressable market.
Yeah.
And if you want to be a leader, and we're saying we want to grow 75% in a market that is growing at a 25% rate, we've got to be doing it 3x better than our competition,
Yeah.
you know, to hit those kind of numbers. So how are we going to do that? And so the first thing for me was get that baseline in, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, wow, we have like a 10% conversion rate from top of funnel to sales qualified. What's going on there, right? Something must not be clicking. And so then digging in, and, you know, it's our messaging, it's the clarity, it's not having the right landing pages, so our bounce rates are high, and like thinking through the entire experience that you're creating. You know, when you're seeing low conversion rates, something's not clicking. So then I deconstruct, okay, this is what we've got in market. This must, you know, I start to see some things, like I said, that like, this is confusing. Of course, if they click on this and then they come to this landing page, there's a disconnect. That experience, it's, you know, not registering with them. They're jumping ship before, you know, they convert, and that's a problem. Or the other thing is pretty much any warm body marketing got the name and number of, we were passing off the sales. We didn't have clear guardrails around what was our true ICP fit. And so every lead was a marketing accepted lead and passed to sales. And then sales was so hungry because of low conversion rates that they were working every lead. And so then we had a really low conversion rate, even from sales qualified to opportunity, you know. So it was just kind of this perfect storm where it just kept getting worse instead of better. So, I mean, that was the first thing, is really to understand where the breakdowns were, and then start to paint a picture, like, we need to get to these better conversion rates. How are we going to do it? And so some of the things that I identified there is, first of all, like, we were flying blind. We had really no idea of who was in market or what they were searching for. So it's really hard to create a good experience when, you know, you're flying blind and just kind of throwing stuff out there, right? I mean, the first thing I want to be able to do as a marketer in awareness is resonate with the person. So if I know that they were searching for increased ramp time, then I can offer them content about increased ramp time, and I can take them to a landing page about increased ramp time, and I can invite them to a webinar about how to improve their ramp time. You know, but if I don't know that, then I'm going to throw everything I've got at them, and it's like overwhelming. And again, you know, you lose people really quickly. So that was the first thing. It's that intent data, and then layering on predictive analytics on top of it to see this is the stage in the journey that they're at. So again, if they're early stage and they're searching for improved ramp time or increased ramp time, they're probably looking for like ways to do it. And what, it might not just be technology, it could be like other training techniques, or like the learning program that someone might put in place to help someone ramp faster. But ultimately, we're hoping that they're going to see, oh, there's technology that can help with this. And they're going to start doing some research on the different technology providers. And hopefully then, you know, our brand surfaces to the top. Right. So that's part one. Then let's say that they're like in a decision or purchase making stage. And so I use Sixth Sense. So when I'm using their technology, that's how they call something. But purchase and decision in Sixth Sense is really like 5 steps earlier than what like the traditional definition of purchase and decision is. Right. It's saying these people are ready to talk to someone. So we know that in B2B, there's buying committees, and that people are doing 80% of the research before they raise their hand to want to talk to someone. Everyone's kind of assigned a task or a buying job, and they're going out and doing their homework, and they're coming back and kind of talking about it. And then once they get that, it kind of whittled down to, these are the big things we're looking for, and these are the people who can provide it, then they'll start saying we're ready to talk. And so we want to get in there like right before they're raising their hand, but not too far before, not when they're still doing the research at the very beginning, because if it's too early, they're not going to be ready to talk. But if it's too late, they've probably already talked to our competitors, and we're going to have to play an uphill battle instead of being able to like kind of pave the way for what they should be looking for and what questions they should be asking. So we got to find that sweet spot. And so using predictive analytics will help us find the sweet spot of when. So there's the timing component. So now you know what you need to talk to them about, and you know what stage they're in. So you know when to reach out. And also, if they're in a later stage, like they're going to be more interested in things like case studies and how other people did it versus like a data sheet that they probably already hopefully got from your website.
Yeah.
So timing and what to talk about, but then it's having the right message. So, again, it's great to know all those things, but if you don't come to the table with something that resonates, create some parity, you're going to lose them. So that's a big part of what we're working on right now. We're doing some rebranding, remessaging stuff. But even getting the first two pieces together, it's like made a huge difference. We're already seeing, depending on the campaign and how we're approaching it, between a 6x and a 15x improvement in our conversion rates, just from putting those two pieces in the first 8 weeks.
Wow. So. Yeah, and that's critical. Now, what you're talking about, creating content specific for buyers' journeys, whether they're top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, or even bottom of the funnel, that is obviously key in B2B because, as you mentioned, it's complex sales cycle and it's usually decision by committee. So you've got to kind of almost land and expand with your messaging. And the messaging is different for a CFO as it is for a CMO, as it is for a VP of sales, let's say. If they're looking at and they're all looking at onboarding or sales enablement platform as a potential need, right? So what has your team, or what have you even done, whether it's with MindTicle or in the past, to help and hone in on that voice of the customer or voice of the ideal customer profile? You guys do firsthand research. What is the messaging that I need to speak to resonate in terms of my messaging, right? So talk me through that, if you will. Like what have you done or that you've experienced?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I think it needs to be all of the above. And so to your point, just to kind of even step back a couple more pieces from this, like one of the things that early on when I was trying to figure out our ideal customer profile, I'm seeing that 59% of our new name business was B2B tech companies with less than 1,000 people. But then I talked to customer success and we had a pretty low attrition rate, but 79% of those who were attrited were B2B tech companies with less than 1,000 people. And after doing some research and discovery on that, we have come to understand that it's because they don't understand the difference between what is LMS, so learning management system, and a readiness platform. Which, I mean, this whole idea of a readiness platform is a new idea. And yeah, we put up some stuff out there about it, but it's not well explained. So then to take that a step further, we did research with Revenue Collective, which is where CROs and sales enablement people and all the sales people are, like our target audience is a member of this, right? And so first party research to our target audience, asking these kinds of questions. Now, not only what are you looking for, but do you understand the difference between these things? And what are your priorities? And why would, what would you prioritize this, or this, just to get a sense of like, is it more important for us to be talking about just onboarding, Or are they starting to think more about this idea that we call everboarding, where it's like continually improving and being able to see, here's what my top reps are doing, here's what my lower performing reps are doing, what's the skill set gap? Okay, I see that Sally isn't as good as objection handling, and Joe is not a very good listener. And so Sally's going to get one set of training and coaching, and Joe's going to get something else, right? Because there is not a one size fits all. But are they thinking that way yet? Like, we need to understand, is there education we need to do there, or are they already thinking that way and we just need to show that we can solve the problem? And so like we learned that there's kind of early on, some people are starting to think that way, but most people are still just thinking about speed to ramp and productivity. And that's it. So there's, then it's like, all right, there's a gap between what we can actually solve for and what people are actually looking for and what they understand. And so again, back to this, now we're working on our branding and our messaging to make sure it's really clear to different people, different audiences, what the value prop would be. So it's like, this is their challenge. This is the outcome that MindTicle can help them get to. And here's a result, like here's an actual result from a customer. So it's like the challenge is speed to ramp. I need my new AEs to be ramped in 3 months and starting to contribute revenue to the bottom line. The outcome MindTicle can provide is, on average, it takes 2.5 months for a MindTicle rep to have speed to ramp. And again, it depends on the company and whatever and how complicated things are. But if you've got a good program in place, we can do it, and we can talk about things like the forgetting curve and but here's how we do it. And here are some of the results. Like such and such customer had 90% of their new AE hires ramped in 2.5 months and meeting quota, at 100% or 90% or whatever in their first year or whatever. So it's like, to your point, like we've got a matrix now that we're building out of like persona, challenge, outcome, result, and try to break it down as simply as possible. So our sales team, our BDR team can use it, and we'll have content to support it. And it's like, if you talk to someone and this is the problem, you can reference this piece of content or send it to them after, whatever. So it's like just becomes as easy as possible for our customer facing teams to like address the problem that the person we have is facing and give really clear value proposition of what MindTicle can help them with.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I know I've had a chance to kind of see and witness that ramp up of your content on your website. Because, you and I connected on Peak Community almost a year ago now. and since that, I've seen an enormous amount of effort on content in your blogs that talk about the things you just described. And what I find interesting is that you were able to leverage, being part of Revenue, the member of Revenue Collective, to hone in on these, basically personas or potential decision makers that you would have with current clients and future clients, and sort of leverage that. I think that that's a great strategy, and it's a smart strategy when you're trying to get that first kind of, firsthand knowledge, I guess, if you will, right, of how something would resonate or not, because you're going to get both, right? You're going to get that pushback from maybe some of the folks, and also the aha moments. So that's excellent that you're describing how you went through that process. For others that are listening, they might want to jump on and see how they can find a soundboard, right, that's outside of maybe the echo chamber, which can sometimes be going after just your evangelist clients. Because you've already solved their problem. They may be power users of your platform, so they may not bring up any new insights as much as maybe those that decided to go, with either a competitor, or they decided that your platform wasn't ready at the time that your team engaged them. So that's pretty interesting news. Talk to me a little bit about the broader market. Sales enablement, sales readiness platforms. They seem to be the talk of SaaS. When I look at the companies that are getting these 100 million 60 million, 40 million, in the millions, right, of VC money or private equity, it always seems that they're in the sales enablement realm. So, and everything obviously geared towards revenue acceleration or revenue attainment, that sort of thing, right? So what are you seeing out there a little bit in the space? How is it evolving, and maybe what are you trying to help MindTicle with, so that they get recognized as maybe a different player in the space?
Yeah, well, I mean, a few things. I know one thing you and I talked about a while ago too was category creation, right? And I mean, this category right now, I feel like it's just confusion. Every analyst firm has got a different kind of criteria and definition of what the components of what sales enablement would be. Almost all of the analyst firms in general, I feel like, are in a little bit of disarray because, like, Gartner acquired Topo, Forrester acquired Serious Decisions. So you've got like people who had a point of view on this are now getting moved into another analyst firm, and there's other analysts there that had a different point of view. And so there's like a lot of shifting happening, and it creates for a really interesting situation for us, which is great, which is an opportunity to really help shape the definition of what the category is. And I don't know if it's so much as the creation of it, because I feel like it exists, it's just not clear of what does it really mean. And so again, this is a big part of what we're going through right now within the company, and very, very focused on, what is our vision of the future? What does this space look like? But at the same time, now that we've done all this research, and we're very mindful that a lot of people don't really even understand what it is today or how it can help them. And they think of things as like, well, we got to get everyone onboarded. But there needs to be ongoing training, and like the future, what we've got like happening right now, and some of our customers are using it, but it's kind of in beta. We call it a capability index, but it's like, again, we can see, here's what your top reps are doing right. Here's a spider chart of what that looks like. We can lay every single rep on top of that, and you can see strengths and weaknesses and gaps. And then you can work on a everboarding, always improving, helping people to reach their full potential, they hit their quota, way forward. And it's like, if you think about that too, the generation of sales of force that's coming in, workforce that's coming in, want to be invested in. If you're not learning, you're not growing, and you don't feel like your company is investing in you, you'll jump ship. There's no more like lifers. No. So we're seeing, like, we even just got this RFI from Salesforce last week. It was huge, and they have a whole movement happening around work from anywhere. And COVID just accelerated
absolutely
all of this, right? Where it's like, no more are the days where you can bring in a whole new group of new hires into a training room and work with them for a week and send them on their way. And it doesn't really work. I mean, like, back to that forgetting curve, it's like, how much information can you retain in your first week on a new job? And you're also filling out like paperwork with your tax information on it, right? Like, you're like, so this way, it's like this ongoing process of learning and retaining, and you can go back to the information, and you can, refresh yourself if you need to, or if we're launching a new campaign, we'll put this into our own platform. So we enable the reps not only on the new campaign, but like new technology that we're doing and how to execute it, so that they can always go back to it as a resource. So it's this ongoing thinking part. But then the other part is like, salespeople would go into a meeting room, and their RVP might be there, or at least their sales manager or whatever. And if it's a big deal, you kind of have this army together in this boardroom, and you're going through stuff and giving your pitch. And when you leave, you're like, hey, let's go to lunch, or let's talk in the airport or whatever. And you get like immediate feedback and some coaching. And like, now it's recording a phone call. Someone's got to go through and listen to all that stuff. And so having kind of some AI to hone in on someone's strengths and weaknesses and make it much easier to give feedback, and then be able to like go right back into the same platform and do some remediation on those things, makes a really big difference, because otherwise that just completely gets lost. And how do you help people get better if you're not face to face? So these are the trends I'm starting to see. Companies are really starting to think this through. They realize I don't think anything's ever going to go back to full on travel and all being in these spaces together the same way that they were. And so how can we do it and maybe even do it better than what we were before?
Yeah, no, definitely. It's very interesting that you talk about the workforce, the generational workforce is coming, millennials, Generation Xers that are, that's kind of where the category I fall into, that are more in their senior level positions, but now they're trying to get their directors underneath them. There might be millennials and the Gen Zs coming up. Every generation has its, has its challenges and opportunities. But I think one of the challenges, as you just pointed out, that many millennials and Gen Zs have is that they don't feel that they necessarily have to be 100% committed to an organization unless they feel that it's reciprocal and that they have a career path, right? So the days of getting the ring after 20 years of working at an organization, in like at Ford or something like that, that's just non-existent these days, especially probably more so in technology. So B2B SaaS companies, there's I believe there's a study out there that has, I think 2 or 3 years is kind of the statistical norm now for those that are working in SaaS companies, right? So they'll go from one software company to the next. So to have a differentiator in the culture, in the work culture, and the opportunity to have a growth path, I think definitely is something that most companies are looking at as a potential competitive advantage, especially around workforce and human capital, right? Putting technologies aside, right? Many of these software companies really, without the people and the right people on the boat, if we think about, John Covey and others that have talked about leadership and training is such a huge component of it. So it's wonderful to see that, MindTicle is really kind of honing in on this and working with companies that get this and see these trends happening. I noticed that you guys put on, an LMS versus, an enablement platform versus a readiness platform. You guys got, that kind of content already on your website. When thinking, this is getting more on the tactical stuff, but when you're ahead of demand for an organization that is in this big category, and you guys are trying to hone in on a more of a better way to message or to come across to potential clients, walk me backwards a little bit. How do you work with your content team? And with your content team, what are like some of the kind of the frameworks or structures that you have that to be able to produce this kind of content on a scalable format, if you will?
Yeah, I mean, gosh, it's kind of a loaded question. Well, I try to, first of all, again, going back to, I'm trying to create an experience, right? So I need to really think through each stage of the buyer's journey. Who are the buyers? Who's the economic buyer? Who's, different buying jobs, and what's going to resonate with them. And so the way I try to set things up is there's kind of a big picture idea. And again, we're working on that now. So we're kind of not doing it in the order I would normally want to do it. But then we can see with intent data, what are the keywords that are the top keywords that are being searched for? So that gives us clues. Like, I'll tell you, LMS is searched for 10x what readiness is searched for. And so I know from an SEO standpoint, from a thought leadership standpoint, like I need LMS in my messaging somehow. I need to attract the attention of the people who are searching for it. And then, like, I come from a challenger sales background, and I really like that teach, tailor, take control framework. And it's like, I need to create intrigue in the beginning. So if they're looking for LMS and I say readiness is the new LMS, why, and here's why, right? It's like, right. Oh. And then I need to get them thinking, all right, the cost of pain, the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change. I need to change. It's going to be better if I change. Like, they have to come to that conclusion on their own. So I start to think through, like, if I know, this is a pillar piece of content or a pillar theme, LMS versus readiness, or readiness is the new LMS. For each target audience, they have these pain points. How am I then going to make sure that they're intrigued and they're thinking, I need to make a change when they're done in these like awareness consideration earlier stages, right? And then I need to back it up later as I'm going through the journey of, here's the outcomes you're going to see. Here's what so-and-so did. Here's how they solved the problem. This is the results that they got. A lot of people use value calculators, things like that. We do have one, but I find they're kind of sketchy sometimes, but there's lots of different ways, and different people, like, different things resonate with different people. But ultimately, having a thought process, creating an experience that's personalized as much as you can personalize it. If, again, with intent data predictive, if I know that it's this account and they're searching for these things, I want to put up one-to-one a display ad with their name, take them to a landing page with their logo, with the things that I know they're searching for, with content that's geared toward the stage they are in their buying journey, and create the best experience that I possibly can. Because while brand might drive demand, it's the best experiences that are going to create the growth. And that's where you start to see the conversion rates go up. So that's how I look at the content strategy, and break it down into pillars. So I've got themes that I want to drive and market. I've got landing pages and content built around these content pillar, these core concepts, and then figure out what I need to make the best experience.
Yeah, no, I love that you broke down pillar content and how important that is to kind of get grounded on how you're going to create your messaging, positioning, and so important. HubSpot's global content marketer, she really spoke highly of her process at HubSpot, which we all know is maybe one of the biggest for examples of content done right at scale for software. And she exactly, almost verbatim, did your process that you just described right now, which is the research first, which is sort of the spreadsheet marketer in all of us, that we have to have a bid these days for SEO purposes. But then taking that, putting that into pillar content, and doing cluster content around that to try to make sure that you have the right kind of content, the amount of content to serve up with the data that you were talking about, the predictive data, intent data. That's awesome. Yeah. What about, now that we're talking a little bit about, the weeds and content, but bringing it up back to the level that you're at, where you're the head of the VP of demand. Talk to me a little bit about how you're now interacting with the other folks in the C-level, right? So to give us a sneak peek on how those conversations sort of go, or how you've learned to kind of better align with the SVP of sales or the VP of sales, your CRO, right? Yeah. Talk to us a little bit about that leadership.
Yeah. So a few things there. I think first of all, when I came in, I made it clear, and they were totally excited about having an appetite for change. And if you're going to get 100 million in funding and you're going to try to grow 75%, you're going to have to change some things. So that kind of laid the groundwork for me to come in and say, all right, I'm no longer measuring MQLs. What? Right? Well, what are you going to measure? Right. And back to your, talk track earlier on, I love to deconstruct things. I'm all about reverse engineering. It's like, all right, well, let's look at, here's the revenue objectives. Underneath that, okay, here's the conversion rates we're currently hitting. Here's our ACV. Here's the average deal cycle time. It's just math. Break it down to each month. Here is how many deals you've got to close to hit your revenue target, okay? Mm-hmm. If you've got to close this many deals and you're at a 10% conversion rate, this is how many marketing qualified accounts you need to do it. And I'm saying, you don't care about leads. You're not working leads. A lead doesn't buy, it's an account. I could give you 10 leads from the same company and count it as 10, but it counts as one for you. So don't even worry about the leads, worry about the counts. We're going to get you the right accounts. And not only that, but we're going to get you the right contact people in the accounts. And we're going to help you build out a plan to win each account. And we're going to tell you what they're searching for. And we're going to tell you what stage in the buying journey they're in. And we're going to nurture them until they're ready to talk to you. And we're going to tell you when it's time for you to talk to them. And I've built a dashboard now for all of these things. So I've got a revenue dashboard that's showing that breakdown of the math and where we are to our sales qualified goals each month, where we are to our pipeline goal each month, where we are to our marketing qualified account each month, and what are my conversion rates? Because I have a goal to improve those month over month over month to get to a better place, because again, we were very low conversion rate. So I'm tracking all that, and it's visible and it's transparent. And every week I do a report on it and I show it to the leadership team, and it makes a huge difference, right? It builds trust. And then with the RVPs, here's what's going on in your territory. Each AE can see which accounts in their tier ones are in which stage, which campaigns they're in, which ones they should be working, what's marketing doing. It's all built into this dashboard, and they can see it at a regional level and an individual level. So now it's changing the motion with the AEs and working with them on that. And because I think, first of all, it's logical and they can see it and it's all surfaced up and there's no more spreadsheets, and marketing's not what I call pooping out leads and like throwing them over the fence, anymore. We're really working with them. Like, here's the best of the best. This is what the experience we created. This is the part you need to do and when. You're enabled, you've got everything you need. We're supporting you. It's a team effort. It's that's been the game changer. We're all in it together. And yeah, there's been some, hiccups and growing pains, but we're just working through it one account at a time. And then when I'm seeing successes, it's like surfacing those to the top, making a big deal about the wins. Every time we got a new account turned into opportunity from our ABM pilot, featuring it, highlighting on the regional calls, surfacing it up, those kinds of things, really help to build the rapport with the sales team and the leadership team.
Sure. I know. I can imagine that the trust you get when you're, creating an ABM program to get maybe, a top 50 account, and the ABM program actually turns and converts that account into a win, you're going to get, almost instant credibility on that the marketing demand team is doing their job and then some. I love that you're saying that brand will help create demand, but the experience is what helps you close it. So in what you described, how you get a very IBM personalized approach to certain accounts. So we're not looking at just MQLs for the sake of vanity metrics, but really SQLs and accounts won. What are you seeing, or what have you learned in terms of the number of, the number of campaigns that it takes or touches, and the number of people within an account? Because B2B is, as you know, very complex sales cycle, decision by committee, depending on the contract value. It could be a year even, right? So how have, what numbers are you seeing there? Is there a certain mix, number of touches by channels, and also, 2x number of titles within an organization?
Yeah, I mean, the research will tell you, I think it's like 9.2 people on a B2B buying committee. What we're seeing here is it's really around 5. It depends on how big the company is, though. There's a range. I've seen it be 3, but I've seen it be 15. So it depends, again, on also kind of sometimes how big the deal is. Like in an enterprise company, if you're trying to make a play to get all your customer-facing teams on an enablement suite, that's different than only your sales. team. And you're talking to a different range of people. So again, depends on the deal, but there's always a different mix of buyers. I think I just saw something recently that came out that there's like, I think it came out from Adobe, that there's like always at least like 4 buckets of buyers. There's like your primary buyer who's trying to figure out if you can solve the problem. There's a technical buyer that's like, does this meet my requirements? You know, it's like IT stuff. And then there's like the approver. Is it good for the business? What's the ROI?
Yep.
You know, is this going to help? And then a lot of times you've got procurement. It's like, you know, is there a better deal out there? Let's get into the weeds on this. But you know, there's different people in between usually too. That's like, maybe it's my job as a sales enablement leader to figure out how to solve the problem, but then I've got to get the sales manager on board, the CRO on board, and you know, maybe it's someone in customer success who wants to use it too, on top of those other people. So again, it really depends.
So tell me a little bit about right now. You're giving us great insights and practical, you know, frameworks that you've used both from Sixth Sense and even before that with Aprimo, I'm sure, and now here with MindTicle, right? What is some of the MarTech that you guys are using, or that you think is a good MarTech to have when you're putting this demand engine and flywheel basically on?
Yeah. Great question. So, well, one of the things you just asked me about was number of touches. And again, benchmark, I've seen anywhere from like 16 to 21. But I think some of it is about the experience you're creating. So I like to have intent data and predictive. I've been using Sixth Sense. We found that when I was at Aprimo, and then I went there because I wanted to really, you know, go deep in it. But like Terminus is great too. And they just bought an intent partner. So I think that'll start to get integrated into their platform. Right now they've got Bombora. So, but I like having the intent because I want the actual keywords, because those keywords, like I said, they play into my other strategies too, like with SEO and my content strategy. So that's critical, and the predictive, so I know the stage. And then as a part of that suite, I can actually run my advertising right from the platform. So same thing with Terminus. They're really well known for that. And they actually have an integrated chatbot now and the ability to do display ads and emails and things. Whereas like we just bought a chatbot that we're going to be integrating into our platform. But with the chatbot, I want to make sure that it can tap into my predictive and intent data, because now they're going to know, you know, this account is on our website. They'll notify my AA, hey, your tier 1 account such and such is on the website. Joe is back, or whatever. Like you can jump into the conversation, or they know Joe's already been here. He went to this content and this content. We can offer up a better experience and suggest something. Or we know he was searching for ramp time. Hey, we just had a new case study come out on it from such, so you want to, you know, check it out, whatever. So just having a chatbot that is intelligent to help create a good experience. And then same with like a content, but the ability to spin up really quick landing pages and having a great content experience. So we're using Hushly. I've been partnering with them. I'm on their cab. You know, just the whole thing for me is, again, intent data, knowing which stage someone's in or knowing who it is. And like dynamic is evolving, but I don't think it's there yet. But the future will be, well, and some people are turning it on. I've only seen like between 40 and 60% accuracy. And so I'm not comfortable. Like, I don't want to get it wrong. I think that's a big no-no. But to even like behind the scenes, I know it's this account and they're at this buying stage and they've been searching for these things. So I can serve up content dynamically that's going to meet their needs. So things like that are really important to the experience that I'm trying to create. And so making sure you've got a partner for that. And then data enrichment's huge. We're still trying to find the best ways to do it. With seamless AI and some other like Zoom is so trying to figure that out. And I have a team actually that's doing it manually too. And so data enrichment's another big thing. And then of course we have a map, but I gotta say, like, I can't wait till the day when those die.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you guys definitely have your MarTech. With the chatbot, is that through Terminus or is that another platform?
No, Terminus is baked into theirs now. We went with Qualified. I've used Drift before too. But I try to keep it simple. For me, like I said, it's about having the most seamless, like compact, well-orchestrated experience as possible. And it's more about understanding where people on their journey and be able to serve up the right things than having it be like overcomplicated.
Right. Well, so I know we're coming towards the end of the hour, and to respect you and your time, because I could talk with you about marketing and demand gen for hours, trust you me. I know we both kind of can nerd out, but so I wanted to get into the rapid fire section.
Oh boy.
So this it'll be fun. If you could jump back on to the Back to the Future DeLorean with Doc or Marty, right? And you could either go back and talk to a younger Lisa, or you might want to go forward and see what the future Lisa has in her career or in her life. What would you do? Which one would you choose?
I think I'd go backwards because I think it's more fun to anticipate the future. I wouldn't want to know. I'd go backwards, and I think the biggest thing is I never really thought about what my career progression was going to be or where things would take me. I just kind of always followed my instincts, but then there was kind of this kind of lack of confidence with it because I don't know, I just didn't know what I was doing, right? I was figuring it out as I went. I think I would just tell myself, like, you have good instincts, trust yourself, you're figuring this out. There is no right answer or wrong answer. Like, just believe in yourself.
Excellent. And, I firmly believe that leaders are readers and vice versa. So what books, whether they're business or not, would you recommend that you think have either influenced you or, you think could help someone who's aspiring to their career path?
Well, I will say, I do listen to a lot of podcasts and stuff, but as far as books go, I think one of the big ones that I was actually a part of is No Spam, No Forms, No Cold Calls, written by Latney, or Sangram's B2B, ABM is B2B. I think they really help you to kind of understand, this new way forward and how to do it, how to think about things.
Yeah, interesting. Those are definitely two good books. And if there's and is there any app or hobby or sport that you're participating in to recharge? Because I think we all, now that we're working from home and putting in a lot of hours, I'm sure. What do you do to reboot during the week?
Yeah, one thing I've really gotten into is like mindful meditation, and I've tried some of the apps and stuff for it. I don't really love that, but I've just found some different things on Spotify and stuff that I like and kind of take it day by day. Yoga, and there's this it's like Yoga by Cassandra or something, but she's got some meditations too that I like. So that's really helped me a lot. I'd say in the last year and a half, I've been getting really into that.
Well, excellent. Yeah, I know everyone has some kind of hobby or sport or an app. So thanks for the sharing. And was there anything that I didn't ask you that you want to discuss or share or talk about?
Well, gosh, I could go on forever, but I think, to summarize, kind of what I was trying to get at is, marketing needs to be thinking about the entire customer life cycle. And, what I'm seeing is the future of marketing, and the marketing leaders who are really delivering are already thinking about that entire life cycle. They're setting strategy for it. They're building out the experiences for it. And they're working with the revenue teams to execute, and, really starting to hold hands with the revenue teams That's that enablement piece, but that partnership piece to deliver.
Well, excellent. Well, how can folks find you to connect and learn more about MindTicle, as well as connecting with you to learn more about marketing, sales, and leadership strategies?
Yeah, I mean, the best place to find me is on LinkedIn, / Lisa Sharapata. And I'm also in the Peak community, pretty active there. So highly recommend that too. That's been a great outlet for me as well. I mean, I keep saying like community is the new event. So those are probably the two best places to find me.
Well, excellent. Lisa, thank you so much for your time today. And we wish you nothing but the best for the second half of the year with MindTicle, and looking forward to seeing more of your posts on Peak around strategies that you are executing there for MindTicle and in your career growth. So thanks again for the time.
Yeah, you bet, Jenny. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
If you get value from our podcast content, make sure to leave a review, share, and connect with our host, Gianni Quintana, on LinkedIn. So vamos, get ready to listen, watch, learn, and grow from your peers in B2B SaaS. Thanks for listening. Access more content at digitechie.com/smart-chickens.